It was a hot May afternoon in Ouagadougou, the kind where even the walls seemed to sweat. Inside the cool halls of the presidential palace, President Ibrahim Traoré sat around a large wooden table with his ministers. The conversation was steady and serious. Updates on new roads, school buildings nearing completion, and a major solar energy project coming together. People around the room nodded, took notes, and spoke with purpose. There was a quiet energy in the air, like something solid was being built, not just with concrete, but with belief. At just 35, Ibrahim was not your typical head of state. He didn't carry himself with arrogance, but with focus. Calm and steady, he listened more than he spoke. Everyone knew how hard he worked. His staff often found him reading economic reports at midnight or visiting rural clinics without cameras. He was a different kind of leader. Young, yes, but serious, thoughtful, and determined. Across West Africa, people saw him as a symbol of something new. Not just change, but hope. His ministers admired him, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. His wife, Ajara, didn't need to say much. Her quiet strength said enough. She kept him grounded, always reminding him who he was doing this for. Under Ibrahim's leadership, Burkina Faso was changing fast. New schools were opening. Clinics were seeing more patients than ever, because now they had real doctors, real equipment. Kids were learning computer coding in places where, a few years ago, they didn't even have stable electricity. His face had become a familiar image on walls and billboards, not in a flashy way, but as a reminder, we're moving forward. For many, especially young people, he wasn't just a politician. He was someone they looked up to. Then, the moment came that changed everything. The door opened quickly. Yakuba, the communications advisor, stepped in, looking tense. He held a tablet in one hand and was clearly out of breath. "Mr. President," he said, "you need to see this. It's urgent." The room went silent. Ibrahim gave a small nod. Yakuba walked over and played the clip without another word. On the screen was Ellen DeGeneres, sitting in her bright studio, laughter bubbling around her. She was holding a photo of Ibrahim. "Guys," she laughed, "have you seen this president from... what is it? Burkina Faso something?" The audience giggled. "He's 35 and thinks he's the savior of Africa. It's hilarious. He looks like a kid in a costume pretending to be in the army." The room froze. No one spoke as Ellen kept talking. "Someone tell him leading a country isn't a video game. Maybe he should go back to school." Ibrahim didn't blink. His eyes stayed fixed on the screen. His face didn't change. Around him, his ministers stirred in their seats, shifting with disbelief. Some were already whispering angrily. Ajara stood quietly at the side of the room, hands clenched at her sides. The video ended. Silence. Ibrahim closed the tablet and looked around the room. "Call an emergency meeting," he said softly. "It's time we respond." No shouting. No outburst. Just a calm voice that somehow made the moment feel heavier. Something serious had begun, and no one in the room doubted it. By the next morning, the reaction across Burkina Faso was already boiling over. Social media was flooded with angry posts, videos, and messages. The hashtag #RespectBurkinaFaso shot up the charts, first locally, then across Africa. Students from the University of Ouagadougou began gathering outside their campuses with homemade signs. "We are not a joke. Our president deserves respect, and Africa is not your punchline." These weren't political protests. They were personal. People weren't just defending Ibrahim Traoré, they were defending themselves. Inside the presidential palace, the ministers began bringing in troubling updates. The foreign minister, Dr. Alonso Ouedraogo, looked grim as he laid out a folder of notes. 3 American delegations have cancelled meetings. One of them was about a tech investment program in Bobo Dioulasso. They said they want to wait and see after the media noise. He shook his head. This is not just about a joke anymore. This is diplomacy. Everyone had seen the clip by now. Not once, but several times. Ellen's voice played again, and again on TVs, phones, and radios. He's 35 and thinks he's the savior of Africa. Looks like a kid in a costume. Ibrahim Traoré sounds like a character from a Mexican soap opera. He should go back to school. The, laughs from her American audience echoed louder than the words themselves. Across villages and towns, people watched in silence. At a school in the north, a teacher paused her lesson to show the clip. Students sat with their jaws clenched. On a farm, an old man watched with his sons, turning off the radio halfway through. "She laughed at us," he said softly. The national news played the video on a loop, with local journalists discussing the insult's possible impact on trade, reputation, and future cooperation. Some ministers wanted an official statement. Others called for a diplomatic letter. A few even suggested suspending relations with any US-backed initiatives until a public apology was given. It wasn't just hurt feelings. It was national. Pride being trampled on, live on global television. In the president's office, the air was tense. Ajara sat next to Ibrahim, arms folded, her voice low but sharp. "She humiliated you. She humiliated us. She made you into a joke to people who know nothing about this country." She wasn't emotional often, but this crossed a line. Fatimata Sawado, the Minister of Economy, brought numbers instead of words. "We just lost $12 million in potential investment overnight. 3 major partners are holding back because they're worried about our public image." She paused. "This woman made us look like fools in front of the world. That has a cost." Yakuba, the communications advisor, stood near the window. "Mr. President, we can't let this go. The internet moves fast. If we don't act, her words will shape the story." His voice was firm. "We have to answer. But how?" Ibrahim looked at each of them. He didn't speak right away. Instead, he let the weight of their words settle. Then he leaned forward, folding his hands. "If we respond with anger," he said quietly, "we become what they already believe we are, defensive, small, emotional." He paused. "That's the trap." His team looked at him, waiting. "She showed the world her ignorance," he said. "So let's show the world our truth. We don't need to argue with her. We need to outshine her." There was a beat of silence before anyone spoke. "What do you have in mind?" Dr. Wedego asked. "A message," Ibrahim replied. "Not to Ellen, but to the millions who laughed, who assumed, who never bothered to learn. We show them who we are, what we've done and where we're going, and we do it in a way that no one can ignore." Yakuba's eyes lit up. "A video?" Ibrahim nodded. "Yes, but not from a podium, not in a suit, not just words. I want the world to see us, not a staged production, something real. I'll go to the villages, to the factories, to the schools. Let people speak for themselves." Ajara leaned in. "Let them speak the truth." "We'll need footage," Yakuba said quickly, already thinking out loud. "Cameras, editing, voiceovers." "No," Ibrahim cut in. "No voiceovers, no script. Just me, just us, just Burkina Faso." Fatimata raised her hand gently. "And can we include the numbers? Jobs created, roads built, maternal deaths reduced?" "Yes," Ibrahim said. "Facts, faces, lives. That's how we respond. Not with threats, with proof." The ministers exchanged glances. Something had shifted in the room. "We show them," Ibrahim repeated, "who we are." By the end of the meeting, the plan was in motion. Teams were being organized, locations picked. The communications team was working around the clock. It wasn't about revenge. It was about showing dignity in the face of insult and making sure the world saw the difference. A storm had been set off by a few careless jokes, but Ibrahim Traoré wasn't going to fight it with more noise. He had chosen something stronger. Truth, shown clearly and simply for all to see. The camera rolled in silence as Ibrahim Traoré sat in his office, the flag of Burkina Faso behind him, a soft light falling on his face. He looked straight into the lens, his voice steady, clear. "Hello, Miss Ellen DeGeneres," he began. "I'm Ibrahim Traoré, the boy in a costume, as you called me." He didn't smile. "Let me show you my country." The screen cut to the streets of Ouagadougou, busy and full of life. No filters, no dramatic music, just people going about their day. Then, a hospital. Clean, modern, with nurses in proper uniforms and doctors checking patients. Ibrahim walked slowly down the hallway. "This," he said, "is where we save mothers' lives. Just a few years ago, many women here didn't survive childbirth. Today, our maternal death rate has dropped by more than half. Next was a technical school. Young people, some not much younger than Ibrahim himself, sat in front of computer screens. A few were building robots. This is where our future is written," he said, not with insults, but with code. At a cotton processing plant, Ibrahim stood next to a row of machines and dozens of workers. "You said I was playing a video game," he said, "but this place created 45,000 jobs. These machines aren't toys. This is our economy. This is real." The video moved between scenes quickly but clearly. 1 minute, a paved road winding through dry land. The next, a water irrigation system feeding a green field. Then a classroom full of kids raising their hands, laughing with their teacher. "You joked that I should go back to school," he said quietly. "I did. I studied at night after work. I earned a master's degree while leading this country because my people can't afford to wait." His voice never rose. He never insulted Ellen. He didn't need to. The contrast was doing the work for him. His calm, serious tone against the clip of her laughter, her jokes next to real people, real lives. Then came the voices of others. A young woman, maybe 20, standing outside a small clinic. "Before President Traoré, we had no hope. We only thought about leaving. Now I want to stay. I want to build something here." A doctor inside the hospital. "We used to lose babies every week. Now we save them. We have oxygen, ultrasound machines, real medicine, because someone cared." Another student at the tech school looked into the camera. "People like Ellen think we live in the past, but we are building the future." Ibrahim came back on screen. "You called me a joke, but this isn't funny, is it?" The final shot was of him walking alone down a village path, waving at children playing by the road. No words, just a slow fade to black, with the simple message on the screen. Burkina Faso, real people, real progress. Within the first 2 hours, the video had hit 1 million views, then 5 million, then 10. It was everywhere: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It was being shared not just by Africans, but by people all over the world. In New York, in London, in Sao Paulo. The caption that came up most? "This is how a real leader responds." Celebrities started sharing it too. Oprah Winfrey posted it on her Instagram with the caption, "Dignity just beat ignorance." Journalists praised the response as a masterclass in leadership. Politicians across the globe, even some in the US, called it a lesson in how to handle disrespect with grace. Back in Los Angeles, the mood was very different. Ellen sat in her office, her producer holding a tablet, mouth tight. "You need to see this," he said. "It's everywhere, and it's not good." Ellen watched the video without a word. Every scene made her joke look worse. Every face from Burkina Faso, every voice, made her laughter feel colder. The students, the doctors, the workers, it all felt real. And she looked fake. Her team was scrambling. Sponsors were calling. "We're getting hammered," one executive said. "People are asking why we made fun of a man helping his country while sitting in a comfy chair in Hollywood." Ellen didn't argue. She sat still, eyes locked on the screen. She watched the video all the way to the end. No skipping. When it finally ended, the room was silent. She muttered almost to herself, "I had no idea. I really didn't know anything about him or that place. I just didn't think." No one said anything. They didn't need to. The internet had already said it for them. The world had just watched a young African leader calmly destroy every stereotype that had been thrown at him. And he did it with nothing more than the truth. A few days after the video storm, Ellen stood in front of her live studio audience, but everything was different. There was no dancing, no jokes, no big opening. Her smile was gone, replaced with something more serious. The room was quiet. She looked into the camera and said, "I need to talk about something important today." She took a breath and continued. "A few days ago, I made comments about President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. They were ignorant. I made fun of what I didn't understand. I saw a picture, I made a joke, and I didn't stop to think about the person or the country behind it." She played parts of Ibrahim's video on the screen behind her, shots of the hospital, the school, the cotton plant, the students, the mothers. Ellen watched the screen along with her audience. "I watched this video," she said, her voice softer now, "and I realized I wasn't just wrong. I was blind. So today, I want to do more than say sorry. I'm going to visit Burkina Faso myself, and I'm donating $1 million to help fund education projects there." 2 weeks later, she landed in Ouagadougou. It was her first time in Africa. The airport was small, busy and warm. Ibrahim Traoré greeted her at the terminal himself. No coldness, no anger, just quiet respect. "Welcome to Burkina Faso, Miss DeGeneres," he said, holding out his hand. Ellen looked at him, then looked down, clearly nervous. "Thank you for having me, Mr. President. I know I don't deserve this kindness." Ibrahim replied with a calm smile. "Everyone deserves a second chance to learn." Over the next few days, he took her to the same places shown in the video. They visited the hospital, where she spoke with doctors and nurses. "This is nothing like I imagined," she said quietly, watching a nurse explain a new machine. At the technical school, she met the same student who spoke on camera. "I thought we didn't even have internet here," she said, half joking, half ashamed. The student laughed. "We have more than internet," he replied, showing her a project he built for smart farming. She met farmers who now grew enough to sell instead of just survive. She saw solar panels powering entire villages. She had dinner with a local family whose daughter was about to become the first in her village to go to university. Ellen listened carefully. She didn't try to talk over anyone. She asked questions. She took notes. One night, she and Ibrahim walked through the garden at the presidential palace. The cameras were off. The moment was private. "I used to think I knew the world," Ellen said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Now I realize I've been living in a bubble." "You didn't shame me," she added, looking at him. "You educated me." "I didn't want revenge," Ibrahim answered. "I wanted to tell the truth." Back in the US, her visit changed everything. Ellen returned home a different person. Her show changed too. She started focusing on global stories, young leaders, unknown innovators, schools in places people never talked about before. And something unexpected happened. Her ratings went up. People weren't bored. They were curious. Burkina Faso began to see real benefits. American companies started calling again, this time with real offers. A new tech hub was announced in Ouagadougou, Harvard, Yale, and Stanford reached out to the president's office about exchange programs. CNN ran a special called The Real Africa after Ellen's visit. Months later, Ibrahim was invited to speak at Harvard. He stood before a packed hall of students and professors. "A year ago," he began, "an American TV host laughed at me on national television. Today we are partners." In the front row, Ellen sat quietly, wiping away a tear. He continued, "Wise people make a difference. I chose to make a difference." Later that day, Ellen recorded a short video for her show, standing outside the university. "Dignity is more powerful than shame," she said, "and respect always leads further than jokes." The story ended, not with a fight, but with understanding. And as Ibrahim once told his people during a quiet moment, we don't need to shout to be heard.